Welcome back to YM Tech Labs. In the previous lab, we promoted DC01 to a domain controller and created the ymtlab.test domain. Today, we will make that domain useful. We will organize Active Directory with a simple OU structure, create 2 test users, prepare a Windows 11 computer, and join it to the domain. By the end of the lab, we will sign in to Windows 11 with a domain account and verify the connection from both the client and the domain controller. I am starting on DC01 inside Active Directory users and computers. The domain already contains several default containers. We could place everything inside them, but that becomes difficult to manage as the environment grows. Organizational units give us a cleaner structure and allow us to apply group policy later. I will right-click the domain named ymtlab.test. Then I will select New, an organizational unit. The parent organizational unit will be named YMTL. Inside it, I will create 2 child organizational units. One is named Users. The other is named Computers. This is intentionally simple. We only need enough structure for the current lab, and we can expand it when a real requirement appears. Now I will open the Users OU and create our first test account. The first user will be Alex Morgan, with the username alex.morgan. I will set a lab password without showing it on screen. For this demonstration, I will clear the option that forces a password change at the next sign-in. In a production environment, password settings should follow the company security policy. I will create a second user named Maya, with the last name Reed. Her username is maya.reed. Both accounts now appear inside the correct OU. This confirms that our basic Active Directory structure is ready. Next, I will move to the Windows 11 client. This client is named Win11-CL01, and it is connected to the same isolated VMware network as DC01. Before joining the domain, I need to confirm 3 things. First, this must be Windows 11 Pro, Enterprise, or Education. Windows 11 Home cannot join a traditional Active Directory domain. Second, the client must have an address in the same lab network. I will use 192.168.10.20 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Third, and most importantly, the preferred DNS server must be 192.168.10.10, which is the address of DC01. If the client uses a public DNS server, it will not know how to find the lab domain, ymtlab.test. Because this is an isolated host-only lab, I will leave the default gateway empty. I will open command prompt and run ipconfig/all. The IPv4 address is 192.168.10.20, and the DNS server is 192.168.10.10. I will also test the domain name by running nslookup for ymtlab.test. The response should come from DC01. That tells us the client can locate the domain through DNS before we attempt the join. Now I will open System Properties by running sysdm.cpl. On the Computer Name tab, I will select Change. The computer name is already Win11-CL01. Under Member Of, I will select Domain and enter ymtlab.test. Windows now asks for an account that has permission to join computers to the domain. I will use the domain administrator account and keep the password hidden. The welcome message confirms that the computer has successfully joined the domain. Windows requires a restart before the membership change becomes active, so I will restart the client and cut the waiting time from the final video. After the restart, I will select Other User. I will sign in with alex.morgan. The lab domain is ymtlab.test. This is the important difference between a local account and a domain account. The credentials are now validated by Active Directory on DC01. Once the desktop loads, I will open command prompt.
First, run who am I that should return ymtlab \alex.morgan. Then run hostname which should return win11-CL01.
I will run ipconfig/all one more time to confirm that the DNS suffix and DNS server still point to our domain environment. Finally, I will return to DC01. Then I will refresh Active Directory users and computers. The Windows client appears in the default computers container. I will move the computer account name Win11-CL01 into the computer's organizational unit under YMTL. Now our small domain has a clear structure, 2 test users, and one Windows 11 client joined successfully. In the next lab, we will create our first group policy and apply it to this environment. One lab, one result. Learn, build, secure.